I tried UberConference last week.
And how did it go?
Very, very well.
Okay.
So the free version is like Google Hangout limited to 10. The paid version is 100. I could connect even without an account. You can share only if you have an account. And
The accounts are free, right?
yes, you can. I could see who's talking, mute everyone, mute one.
I hear only you. Oh, you're talking about features. Okay.
Yes, and I could record the sound only. They don't record the video. That's weird. So we have
which system are you talking about?
UberConference.
Never heard of it. Broken Friends?
Uber.
oh, Uber. Yeah, UberConference. Yeah.
UberConference.
Broken Friends. Yeah, that'd be it.
Broken. Let's do that. Let's do a Facebook Broken Friends. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe we want to try it on Thursday because the sound works better, and we have we can't record the screen, but for the meetings we have Benedek, so that should be okay. Cool. Why is Bertrand gray? Weird. Great. Okay, so let's create a new page. What's the day? 2, 3, 14. Okay. Oh, we have Daniel today. Daniel
has a demo today.
Demos. Daniel. Who does have demos too? Nobody else. Interesting. Zoltan is not here yet. Benedek, do you know if Zoltan will have a demo? Benedek is unresponsive. Okay. Yeah, okay, but we have a bunch of status actually.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
Yeah, okay. So I wanted to say that Zoltan is on his way home, by the way, so he will join soon, but we don't have a demo.
Home from where?
From our office.
So, question for you two. You are no more students?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wants to try Dapper. Ooh, up until 3 hours ago. So, status. Let's see, lots of things. But this one will go quickly. This is, so I saw a tweet, Bertrand, about exporting media items, including media files. When can we see that? Bertrand. Not here. Oh, doesn't talk. Or we can.
I'm sorry, I had to reboot. I didn't hear.
Oh, sorry. I was saying we saw a tweet about exporting media files. Where can we see that? When can we see that?
Maybe next week. I want to finish the actual deployment part of that. So for the moment, you can export images into a package and you can import them, but you can't deploy them. Which is
cool.
slightly
Okay, cool. Thank you. So this is Sipke and Daniel on their thing. Merge branch feature, blah, 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 module merging. Sipke Daniel. If I'm missing, okay. remove all JS source map files because it was breaking the build, disable generation of source map files. Here's a branch. This one. Okay, then Piotr, I'm sure, pushed a bunch of stuff which was waiting in his branches. Ignore SSL certificate errors for image URLs using image editor. Isolate if it made sense. The issue being, for the image editor, we are creating kind of a proxy on the Orchard side to load where the image is from to prevent, I think, some CORS issues. Yes. And apparently, if the image is under SSL, it wasn't working, so it did a try-catch.
Yeah, especially on a local machine. When it's the self-signed certificate, you will have, like 404 on the image. So
then he added a rotate gesture to the
it was something that was clearly missing from the image editor, the ability to rotate 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise. And I just implemented that.
Reply to fixed. This is a weird fix because this I understand. Okay, the for each, it's not really a fix. It's actually splitting using.
Yeah, actually, the fix is that line 10 above. This was the issue because in lots of places we have like sending emails to users, and the reply to was not provided.
Does it just return
no?
null?
It throws that there is no key in the dictionary error. So you need to call the contains key first. Because if you do not provide the reply to it, will throw an exception.
Okay. And this is refactoring and.
Yeah, it was really a pain in the ass if you wanted to dynamically add, for example, you have a form in the admin somewhere when you want to add the text boxes through JavaScript with the tokenized class, but you had no way to tokenize them after the page was loaded. So I just refactored this whole thing into a jQuery extension so you can call it on your newly added text boxes to make the drop-down show.
Okay, as long as it doesn't break anything.
It's the same thing. It's exactly the same code that was there, but I just moved it into a separate extension. Yeah.
Okay, then still same thing. Then this weekend, oh yes, so documentation, which leads to actual benefits. So where is the Orchard documentation? Orchardproject.net documentation, and under the development section, developer tools, merging pull requests. So you guys who have write access to the repository, if you want to merge pull requests, I've added a section to that. I did a pull request the usual way, and Abhishek approved it. I'm not sure he read what I wrote, but he approved it. Hey. Why is it slow? Okay, GitHub. Orchard documentation. And merging pull request markdown. So changes when you pull request. So I explain what we do and how to pull requests, to merge pull requests. So if you see the GG good to go, or GGG actually, that's what I do. I tell you that the message should be like this, should be rebased and squashed. And instead of doing that, I've shared my alias here, accept PR, and this full command that you need to update in your .git config, and I gave you the location. These have parameters, so this is a parameter, so accept PR, parameter 1, 2, 3, 4, the branch to apply the PR to, the URL of the remote PR. So for instance, you want to pull this pull request in 18x, you say accept PR, then 18x, then the URL of the fork, then the branch inside the fork. Usually the most difficult thing is to find out this thing. If I go to Codeplex, inside a pull request, the website is down. And I go to source code. Is it slow for everyone?
Not for me. I'm good.
Not for me. Good here.
Pull requests. Let's say there is a pull request here you want to pull, to merge. You click on accept. It will do nothing. It will though tell you that. You see the git pull? This is the fork URL. And this is the branch inside the fork that you need to pull. So this one is kind of weird because it's using the same branch as us. Let's take this one. So if I click accept, you see here, pull, this is the fork, and this is the branch to take the patch from. So if you just copy paste this string here, then this is pointing to the correct fork and branch to merge. Then $tick and the message you want to put on the single commit which will be created. I suggest to always define it correctly with the bug number if there is one, the description with correct English, carriage return to insert a big description. We have someone with his sound and TV too loud. Thank you. Another line if you want, and then work item and the item number. So you just do that, and magically everything will happen. And then you can just push what you just did. If you see it's in a read state, cancel everything, reset hard on the previous changes, and file a comment to say please rebase or merge your stuff with the branch you expect it to be merged into. So this is explained, and because of that, Antoine pulled something like 12 pull requests which are good to go. So this one actually he did before he had the accept PR alias, and when I saw it was not correctly done, it was missing some properties. I did the documentation, and you also fixed the commit. Okay, and then you see it's better. Look at that. So this is my test. You see the correct author with the name and the email. You see the committer, which was me in this case. And you see here, he pulled from Satoris, and you see the committer. So this one, so you see a bunch of fixes which are good to go. New features, fixes, content manager, query performance from Daniel. Yeah, fix in the. This one is weird because it's removing something we've added. I looked at the history. That should be good, but I'm afraid this is a bug that Stanley had found, actually. A way to redefine the home page if you don't have the permission. But it's a good to go. Archive later part model updated from Jay. Jay pushed a bunch of pull requests last week. Fixes, and from Stanley, an old one, to be able to configure the root folder for the media storage on Azure. So that should be easier for anyone to merge pull requests. Then Daniel and Sipke playing together again, which leads us to the demo. And I will click on Daniel and pass presenter role.
And I will.
Can anyone hear Daniel?
No, it stopped. He said, and then
yeah, and
nothing.
then it stopped. Same here.
I didn't know if it was me or
no.
Daniel,
Disconnected.
Disconnected. We can see the screen.
Maybe he's on another
no,
now.
You guys hear me?
Now we
Yeah.
There you are.
Good, good. There's this long-winded message whenever you become a presenter,
yes.
apparently. But I see that they added some buttons to the audio settings, so now you can turn off the little annoying sounds when somebody joins.
Yes,
there's
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm
But
late
it's
as
also
always.
setting per conference. Okay.
All right. Okay, so
where's the green?
the green is there still. Just be patient. We'll get to it. So I just want to take you through some of the new features, some of the improvements that we've been doing since the last demo. Obviously, I mean, at this point, anytime you're tweaking around with usability, then the devil's in the details. So there's just been massive amounts of just little glitches to fix and bugs to correct and things to improve. But just some of the bigger things that we've added, I thought I'd take you through. The first thing is that the add button is gone. So before, when you wanted to add an element to a container, there was this plus icon, if you might remember. The tricky part with that was that first you had to pinpoint the container to which you wanted to add the element, which can be kind of tricky because it might just be like a 10-pixel border outside of its children. You have to find that and click it, and then you get to the add button. So what we've done now instead is to introduce this toolbox that you see here on the right. So we kind of took a cue from the from the workflows editor in terms of styling of this thing. So it has all of the elements that you can add, and it has them organized in these neatly collapsible categories. And by the way, these will persist their collapse state across visits. So we store these in a cookie so that they're the same when you return. So the way you add elements now is you just drag them from this toolbox. So for example, if you want to add a row of 2 columns, you just take it, you drag it like this, and just drop it where you want it, like that, for example. Here's a row. And when you want to add a column, just drag it, drop it where you want it. So that's good, I think, because you don't have to pre-select the target. You just grab what you want, and you'll notice that you can only really drop things where they make sense. So if you grab a row, it can only go in places where you can actually place a row, which is directly nested in a grid. And anything else doesn't even become a drop target. And if you add a column, you can only add it to existing rows, like that. And if you add something that's not a layout element, such as, let's say, an image, for example, you can only add that to existing columns, like that. I'm going to hit cancel. Yeah, so that's the toolbox. Some of you guys asked for icons. Iconography was more clear to identify quickly what you want than reading text. So we've added that to pretty much everything here. And there's tooltip descriptions too. that you can that this is, and the toolbox is extensible from server side. So all of these element harvesters that were in place before, that they are what's populating this toolbox. So it's completely extensible. And you'll notice some cool things like when dragging columns to the mix. If I take this one, add it to this existing row here of 2 columns, you see that the existing columns, they resize to make room for the new one. And that was actually very tricky to get right, but I think we've reached a state where it kind of feels intuitive, that it just always does what you expect it to do. And so it doesn't just blindly redistribute all of the columns evenly. So if you have like an existing relationship like this, where one very small and one very wide column, and you added an additional one, you would expect these two to kind of retain their proportional sizing. So that's what it does. So you add another one here. You'll see that this one is still very small in relation to this one. And it also tries to be fairly smart, such as if you have space left over in a row like that, and you add a column, it uses the empty space first instead of resizing any existing columns in the row. And also, if you do things, if you have offset columns like this, if you have an offset in between here, and you add a new one, it always uses up any offset that is any empty space basically in the row gets used up first. You also notice that when I go in and remove a column from a row, the existing columns kind of grow to fill the empty space that was left from the column that you remove. And I actually implemented that using the same space distribution algorithm that I use when adding. I just use it in reverse, with negative numbers. So it applies the same kind of semantics when you add and remove rows in terms of how it calculates things. Yeah, so that's rows. You'll notice some usability improvements to the drag and drop behavior as well. So if I take a column and kind of reorder it like this, move it around, you'll see that we now visualize that a little nicer with a dashed border placeholder. So it's a little clearer to see where your element will end up, like this. And also applies when you're resizing things or reordering things vertically. So if I take this row and just move it up like this, you see where it goes. So we think that's a little more clear. What else? Oh yeah, so drag and drop resizing of columns. You kind of see me do it. The way that it works is you just select a column, you grab one of its edges like this, and you can just drag it to resize. And if you do that while holding down the Control key, I'm doing that now, pressing the Control key, then you disconnect it from the adjacent columns. So now when I drag it, you see the other one doesn't follow. Instead, it introduces offset on the adjacent column. So it kind of just works, mechanically intuitive, the way that you expect it to work as a user, I think. What else? Let's drag and drop column resize, column size distribution. Yep.
Inline editing.
We'll get to that. It's a nice one. But I also wanted to show you, we added full keyboard support to the whole editor. So you can now do things like navigate. I'm just going to put my mouse away now and just do it all with keyboard. So if I have a row selected and press the up, down arrows, I can move the focus to between the rows. And if you hold down the Alt key, so Alt up navigates to the parent. So that's the grid. And then Alt down navigates to the first child. And then if you have column selected, it's the light, left and light arrows. Yeah, so you can navigate around like that. And you can also do column resizing with the keyboard. So if I, I pressed Alt key here. So if I have this column focused and I hold down the Shift key, press the left and right arrows, I resize the column. And if I do that with the same thing applies here, right? If I hold down the Control key and the Shift key, then it disconnects. So the Control key has the same effect whether you're using the mouse or the keyboard. So the Shift key moves the right edge of the column, the Alt key moves the left edge. And you can do them both if you just want to move the column around like this. The Enter key brings up the the Enter key brings up the edit dialog for an element. Yeah, and you generally have like the delete key deletes, and it works like you would expect. Control arrow reorders elements. So yeah, pretty much anything can be done with a keyboard. Space brings up the properties of the element.
Oh.
You like that?
No, I mean, no, it's like the jokes when you watch a movie which is very slow and at some point there is an ugly face appearing to scare you. It was the same effect on me. Everything was beautiful, and then this pop-up is so ugly compared to the rest.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time that you wanted it to receive some
and
graphical...
compared to the rest, okay? Because
yeah,
it will be nice in a default state, in the default orchard page, but in your editor, it's ugly.
Guess I'll take that as a compliment.
You can.
Right, so that's keyboard support. It's not supported to add stuff using keyboard right now. We haven't really figured out how to make that happen, but I guess eventually we will. Not for 1.9 probably, but after that. We kind of want to get this thing out the door soon. So what else? Oh yeah, Clipboard. We added Clipboard support also. So I can now do things like take a column and just press Ctrl C. And then Control V to paste it. Control V again to paste it.
I would never do that in a demo. I would be so scared that it doesn't work.
Really? No, I'm confident. I've given this a few rounds of testing. I can do that on any level. Like I can take the row like this, just copy it, and then go to the grid, paste it in. So that's nice. You can kind of do it in any. And then, by the way, if you do that with a column, if I like take this lorem ipsum column here, for example.
Work across pages. So if I have two different content
yes.
items.
Yes, it does. So because it uses the system clipboard actually.
Oh, even better. Can I drag and drop from two pages?
No, you can't. You can only drag and drop elements within their container. So because we had the clipboard support, it didn't seem important to drag and drop between.
Sure.
But so if I take this column and I cut it, you see the same kind of sizing semantics apply. And if I add it to this row here, you'll see the existing columns. And if I take something that has text in it, like this whole row here, and I copy it to the clipboard, Ctrl C, and I bring up a notepad and paste it, we'll actually paste all of the text that's contained within that part so that you can, get the text out of there if you want. Doesn't work with images yet. That might be a future improvement.
So will there be a way to actually paste the JSON document related to this item?
We've thought about that, but that's not possible. We figured it would be more. It would be more useful to get for users. I think it would be better to get the text.
Or maybe a toolbox command for that, because I could see the usage
I added that, and then you asked me to remove it.
Who said that? Me?
Yeah, I added that feature, and then no. We have export for that.
Yeah, but in this context, in the editor context, maybe I was wrong, because when I see that copy paste, I could think that, let me grab the snippet for this column, save it for later, and you see what I
agree.
mean? Or across.
So maybe we should add like a toolbar command here for getting the JSON.
Yes. Or importing a JSON in a container like you did right now with the Ctrl C, Ctrl V.
Yeah.
Just because it must be not much work to do. You have more work to extract the JSON than get the JSON.
Yeah. Yeah. What we do when you copy is we paste two things on the clip, MIME types. So just one as text and one as JSON. And when you paste, we take, if there's a JSON there, we take it. Yeah, so full clipboard support, which I think is nice. Like it helps when you're building a layout, it helps from all of the repetitive work of creating similar things. I think that's cool. What else? Yeah, so inline editing. We do have that now. Let me just, let me just reload the page because I added so much stuff. So we'll surface this in a nicer way probably. For now, we just have a link here that you can click. You click that link, and up pops the tiny mice toolbar. And now you can kind of just go and edit whatever HTML elements you have in the layout. This some more markup for you. And let's make this heading, shall we? Like that. And some text down here. Kind of just works as you expect. And when you're done, you again just press this button and the editor goes away and you have your markup. So
if you edit the content which is at the very bottom of the page.
If you edit this content? Yeah, so that's an item on our list, actually. So the way that we will do that is by affixing this toolbar. So when you scroll down, it'll kind of be attached to the top of the screen and follow you around. Same as the toolbox, by the way. That's also going to do that. So that if you have a long page, you don't have to scroll up and down to reach them. Haven't gotten to it yet, but it's on the list. Yeah, so I guess as new features go, that's pretty much it.
So why is this toggle inline editing link on the right? Why isn't it the element to decide what's the editing experience when you click edit?
That has very complicated and technical reasons that can we get into that offline if you want to know? It has to do with how the TinyMCE inline mode is structured, basically. But I tried doing it that way at first, but it was super tricky.
So if you click on an element,
like this one?
Yes.
So now if you click edit here,
yes.
Then it brings up the dialog editor.
And it's not possible to have this link there, or another one.
That's what I tried, but no, I didn't find a working way actually.
When I see this editor, I'm like, fuck, you can't even create a link with everything you did.
Yeah, I know. It's shocking. Maybe you can fix it.
I'm sure I could.
So what's the last thing? Oh yeah, I just want to point out something. So in all of the content elements, so they have markup that is generated server side, such as this HTML element, for example. You'll notice that before it kind of looked funky. There was no spacing between the paragraphs, for example. So it turns out the Orchard admin theme CSS adds some pretty funky CSS, like it removes a lot of the default styling from elements, that's just paragraphs and headings and stuff. For example, it removes all vertical space on headings and paragraphs, which might make sense for the admin theme because it's built for that CSS, but it doesn't make sense for arbitrary content. And the thing that you show in these boxes, it's actually not part of the admin experience. It's your content that eventually will go on the front end. So what I did was I actually, for anything that's in one of these elements, I reset everything to like default W3C recommended styles for almost everything, so that it looks probably closer to what you'll see on the front end. The Orchard admin theme adds a bunch of stuff, and also the Bootstrap grid system that we use to lay out this, it also adds some funky stuff. So all of that is reset inside of these elements, which creates more of a, like we see, WYSIWYG experience. Yeah, that's why you're seeing the underlines and blue colors on links, for example, because it's kind of a window into a default styling, if you will. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Hope you like it.
Looks nice. Yeah.
Looks amazing. Daniel, I have one question for you. I think maybe I missed it when dogs are running around here. When you drag and drop to resize the elements, how does that work with the Bootstrap grid? Is it snapping to kind of like the column widths, or is it just a completely free form? You can resize it to whatever you want situation?
No, it snaps to the 12-column grid system. So if you take this column like this and like I drag the edge to the right, you'll see that it snaps.
Oh, that's amazing. Can you, if you choose to use different number, like a 15-column grid, is that configurable somewhere, or is it just defaults to 12-column?
It's kind of hard-coded to 12 columns right now.
So the only thing you can do is then, theme apply some ratio to convert the 12 to 15, but then the editor won't see that. So that's kind of Yes, I see.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, 12 seems to be the de facto standard. And the second question I had is, does this play well with the import-export?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole layout gets persisted as a big chunk of JSON on the content item. So it's fully participating in the import-export.
It just goes with all the other fields and parts.
Yep, exactly.
You guys, this is amazing. I'm so excited to use this. I think all of our users are going to be excited to use this. You guys have done an awesome job.
It also works with drafts also, which is very important. So you can resize a column, save it as a draft, review it, and then publish it. Because it's just a state.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
No,
thanks.
Awesome.
I'm glad to hear that. It's very nice.
I've already shown the preview to some of our users, and they're kind of screaming at me, when is 1.9 coming out? And I tell them, hopefully before I'm dead. So we're all very excited for this. Thank you guys. You've done an awesome job.
Glad to hear it. Our pleasure.
And is it compatible with the current drop on OneNotex in terms of data?
That's
if you deploy that on idreversible.com, will it work?
No, maybe not. Maybe a little.
So try this on idreversible.
First chance we get.
You see what I mean? Is the JSON document version compatible with the previous version?
But it's not actually, right, Sipke? We had a discussion about that. Like, we knew we introduced a breaking change, and we thought, well, 1.9 is not really released yet. So.
With non-breaking in as many places as we could, but there's one or two places where you'll have stuff. But you know what? We should try it on our own website and see what exactly needs to be done, so we can at least provide some instructions. But we decided to go with the breaking changes because otherwise the implementation would be not as elegant.
Just want to know.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the status? What's left to do?
So we have a Trello board actually with a few items. I can show it to you actually.
So how snappy is the performance, Daniel? Because over the internet, when you're snapping it across, it looks like there's some lag. I just wonder if you're seeing the lag your side.
I'm not seeing the lag here at all, so I suspect it's just the team viewer.
Okay, that's cool.
Bertrand is questioning about. We already talked about it like 2 times, I think, but it will be good for you to explain it somewhere written. About breakpoints.
Yeah. I'll write something up and we can have it in the documentation maybe. But in essence, what we decided is that the editor doesn't concern itself with it, so you're kind of the largest screen that your theme is going to support, and then it's kind of up to you in your either in your theme to decide how each element is going to respond to changes in viewport width. Or if you know what theme you're using and you can control it with classes, then you can go into the properties of a column and add things like call XS12, for example, if I want this to be 12 width on extra small devices. So there's ways to control it, but there's nothing like built into the editor experience for it. And essentially, like philosophically, that was about you don't really know in the editor what grid system you're targeting or what like if you even deal with responsiveness in your theme or not. So we kind of decided to keep that out of it.
If maybe ultimately we could have tabs, but that would be crazy to you see with the same content and show a different context of grid and rows. That would be hard to.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to show you our Trello board of things we have.
Bill had another question about the forms. Do the forms still work?
Maybe you can take that, Sipke.
Sorry, I missed the question. What's that?
About dynamic forms. Do they still work with the current state of the?
Oh yeah, they still work. We we actually made it very nice because of the way this new editor client side works. We had to introduce some extensibility points, and the dynamic forms is leveraging that. So if you now enable the dynamic forms feature, you'll see another category called forms with a bunch of elements. And the form element itself is also a container into which you can drag and drop other elements. So it's fully compatible, integrates seamlessly. So yeah.
Yep. So here's our to-do list for 1.9, and it's basically just refactoring and housekeeping stuff. And there's some stuff that we descoped for 1.9 and just as to-dos for the future. And then there's like some roadmap level things, just ideas. Yeah, one thing that I'm aware of is that if you add a new HTML element, it doesn't work with inline editing until you save the page. So I'm going to fix that. Yeah, but the rest of it is just pretty much code level. You won't see it in the functionality. It's just like cleanup and refactoring, making it nice and neat. And then I think we'll be good to go for 1.9.
Cool. Preview is on our list. Preview. You don't have anything to do for preview? Just click on preview.
Preview. Yeah. Oh, actually, so we have a design for that to do responsive preview, actually, so that you can like see, okay, what will this look like on iPads, like tablets and phones and things. Like we have a design for that. But we haven't gotten around to.
You can improve that.
Later.
MVP first.
Shipping is also a feature, they say.
Yes, that's why I say the minimal viable product.
Yeah.
And then we can reship with more things. Okay, otherwise we never ship Orchard.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, very cool.
Thanks.
But what he said is that it might be the coolest module in Orchard, and that makes me sad.
So what do you wish were the coolest module in Orchard?
Oh, media, projection, search engine, everything I did.
All the stuff he wrote.
Yeah.
Of course.
Workflows. Yeah, workflow is kind of still badass. Yeah.
Workflow is nice. That was the inspiration for the whole toolbox thing.
Okay. And yeah, and don't forget that this design, the architecture of having the JSON document and all the elements and everything was defined by Nick also 1 year ago. And so he's the initiator of the full feature. And then Sipke and then Daniel is just pushing everyone's limit. Cool. Next. Now I need to.
You need to take it back.
Transition. Yep. Reclaim. Share my screen. And by the way, where is this option? This option where I can remove this beeping. Yeah, someone clicked on that. Okay, it's fixed now. Don't place a sound when someone joins the call. I'm sure it's Daniel because you mentioned that. You clicked on the little ring, the bell.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, which enabled the beeping.
Oh, I was trying to disable it.
Yeah, it was disabled. Cool. What else? New website, maybe. I found a website actually, which came in the top 10, which is very nice. Let me show it to you. Came in the top 10. This one, worldnomads.com. Worldnomads.com. Oh, it's there. So one of the biggest Orchard websites, travel website, just to mention it. Looks cool. They could use your layout. Currently, like every blade here could be an item. This is typically for the layout module. Cool one. What else? So no more demos. Let me check if there are stuff to talk about. Blah 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 blah. Owen works, Zoltan did all the work, nothing new here. Glimpse, no news from Glimpse, the Glimpse module. This is also another cool one. Is Chris here? Then check, no, Chris is not here or hidden. I see a bunch of viewer something. Is Ilan here and wants to talk about harvest or not? There's some discussions, even offline, about where. Okay, Nick said I plugged in the Roslyn View engine into the next. You can talk about it if you want. Did it work? Did you see improvements? Did you push it on OneText?
I haven't pushed it to 1.x. I just pushed it to my brochure branch stuff because I was trying to get some VNext stuff working. So
okay, cool. So nothing new on this side. Does anyone have any topic to talk about? We have 10 minutes left.
Maybe I wouldn't mind more people getting a little bit involved with the just talking about the data access layer. As there's been quite a few, some people have been talking about it. As I raised an issue about it, I just thought maybe if more people chimed in, we could have a little bit more of a conversation.
It's a recurring discussion. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just that if we can talk a bit more about it, then we can get a bit more of a design rather than,
Yeah, so I have some ideas, but I'm sure everyone knows about my ideas. Yeah, exactly, Paul. There is what technology and what pattern, storage pattern actually. So, yeah, the technology, the design pattern, and the storage pattern, which are different things. My idea, and I've seen also people who want that, is not to use a full ORM feature, but more like a micro ORM, or not that micro, but not the full-fledged ORM stuff. So even if we use Entity Framework, it will not be for defining mappings and automatic mappings. Okay, like limited automatic mappings and automatic things. Okay, the more automatic, the less customizability and understandable it is. Please stop me if you don't agree or if you don't get why. But by experience, everyone who has used ORMs before, the next project tend not to use ORMs because it's easy to start, but you face issues quickly and some that you can't solve. And I've built 2 ORMs, okay, so I know what I'm saying. Are easy to abuse, yes. So in terms of design pattern, Nick actually mentioned some points just last week about the unit of work. How do we want to save changes? How do they propagate? Do they propagate automatically or not? So lots of issues like this. I need 1 second. Sorry, I need to get some my power out. 1 second.
Yeah, Sebastian was getting his power cable.
Sorry. Are you still there?
Yeah, still here.
It's silent. Sorry, I didn't get my power strip. So, yeah, the laptop is old and doesn't last more than 1 hour now. Yep, so I was saying design pattern needs to be discussed. Then the storage itself. So I'm not even thinking about using something else than SQL. Okay, and I've already said that. Something I like to see is like we are doing with InfoSets, but first class. I like to be able to save content items as documents directly. Documents, everything with parts, data, fields, everything inside the document. So we know the content item, we have the document, like we do with InfoSet, but not using a trick. Like, okay, a content item is saved directly as a JSON document, or whatever we need. This way, we can even store it anywhere. It could be blob storage, it could be file system, it could be DB, it could be whatever you want. Okay, but abstraction, I don't care. I think we should not try even to abstract it. We could abstract it; it will give some flexibility, but it's not even necessary. And do like we do today now with records is use tables for indexing / querying. Okay, this way the same. So if you take how we do things right now, what are some examples? Even a blog post. Let's say a blog post will have the property, its properties, every property saved in a document, but we could assign to a blog post a record, like we do blog post part and the blog post part record. So the part has nothing to do with storage; it's just what we store as a document, but the record would be really a record in the DB, and we just put there what we need to query. So this is something we've been doing for 1 year, but because we know this is the best thing to do in terms of perf, we could make it a first class in the API.
Or do we use, or do we move the indexing out to something like Lucene and make Lucene turned on by default?
So this is always the same thing. I don't disagree with that, but again, it's very risky to define it like this. Like, so ideally there should be a document store, okay, for content items.
I say the indexing side of things because it means what we could do is replace the one indexer with something like Elasticsearch.
Yep, look at that, querying, indexing, store. So the idea is to really have those two different pieces, a document store and a querying indexing store. Okay. The document store, let's say you have a document, you save it, you have it by ID. You know the ID, it's a document. And when you load it, you can redirect it to a specific class that we know, okay, or is stored with it. And a separate system could be the querying indexing store, so that you can save an index document. It's like a map action in MapReduce, and you can query on that to get the document IDs which are related. This is the map action. And also the reduce action if you want to create an index based on different documents. So this is typically MapReduce plus querying on the MapReduce. And if you want to abstract everything, you should have two different APIs, because this way you can define a different document store using the same querying, or switch to another querying system. So the document store could be, as I said previously, could be blob storage. It could be RDBMS, like using the SQL server to store the document in a table. It could be, like I said, file system. It could be memory. It could be anything. You just store documents, okay? And it could be also a chain of that. Memory over SQL, okay? And same thing for the querying. You could say, oh, I want to use my RDBMS to store the indexes, and you can do SQL query. Or you could say, I want to use Lucene to store my indexing and do Lucene queries.
Yeah, it's something that's pretty much how Dapper's written.
Sorry?
It's kind of how the micro RM Dapper's written, where they've just done indexing and
Which one?
separated out storage for something else.
Can you write in the chat the name you just mentioned? I didn't get it.
Dapper?
Oh, Dapper? No, that's not like this.
I thought it was. I thought
No,
they
no, no,
separated it out the two.
No, or maybe they separate. Yeah, no.
They separated out the two so
So
you could.
Dapper works with SQL only RDBMS. So how is that abstracted?
Oh, does it? Okay, I didn't realize
No.
that.
No, you could use Dapper inside the RDBMS implementation for store document and RDBMS implementation for SQL, but that's different. So those, yeah, and yeah, so the only issue with that is, okay, it's very easy to have a common interface for document store, get by ID, save, boom. But for querying, there is no API for the querying itself. So every system will have its own querying. So it would imply a common query language, and forget about it. Whatever solution we say, it won't work because there are always mismatches between all these ones. There are stuff in SQL that you don't find in Lucene and stuff in Lucene you don't find in SQL. So then you just take the union, the intersection of that, and you leave aside all the good stuff from every one of them. This is why I think we should go to I think we should go to SQL because it's the most widespread solution and it works everywhere for free and not for free. And we can implement a document store using RDBMS. We can implement a querying indexing system in RDBMS, and it will work. Let me check on the chat if I missed anything. Yeah, ACID is also a reason why we don't want to use SQL. Yeah, so if you compute these solutions and the fact that SQL is the best solution in terms of storage because it's atomic, it's transactional, it's everywhere, it's free, it's well known, there are reporting tools, you can do whatever you want with that. Even if we separate the document store from the querying, which I think is still a good thing, even if we use SQL on both systems. And saying we use SQL, then we can expose SQL and let people create SQL. Even if we use a SQL as an object model, because SQL is well known and there is always no like dialects. So
I think that's a very important requirement, Sebastian, to be able to expose the SQL layer when you want to use the querying power of the underlying database to do things that you can't do with LINK, that the translators cannot handle.
So that's why LINK is good, okay, but you need to be, we have to be very careful with LINK. Because it's good, and if we say this is the only way to do things, people will use LINK and will say, I can't do it with LINK, I'm stuck, or they will spend so many times on trying to make it work with LINK that will be crazy. I also think we should have something like dialects, which let us create some SQL, an independent SQL across RDBMSs. Like do a select star should be the same everywhere, and Hibernate does it kind of very well, so we should maybe reuse what they've done, and our other library would have that. And yeah, SQL directly. The only issue being that if you use SQL directly and not the dialects one, you might hit some cross DB issues. At the same time, you could say I only go to SQL for my own module and not for
Yeah, and sometimes that's okay, right? It's okay to take a dependency on a certain RDBMS for many scenarios.
For your system, not in the modules you want to share, but for your system, you should be able to do that. A stock proc, whatever you want.
Yeah.
And this is why Dapper is interesting, because it lets you do that. There are some tools to ease the generation of SQL, and it supports multiple dialects. And there are some extensions, I'm sure, we handle LINK with Dapper. And that's it. And LINK is also very simple to express because if you just manipulate records which have simple columns and no notion of relationship, you just do your joins, and the LINK should be very, very simple, and the SQL queries should also be very simple. So the idea is to remove some layers from what we have today and let people understand what's happening, but at the same time, guide them into organizing the database. Use content items as documents, and not just content items, content items as documents, and also other POCOs as documents. For instance, the settings, the site everything we have in content part definition, content type definition, settings, and everything is a bunch of 5 tables. It should be one document, not 5 tables, one document. If you were at the first harvest, I showed it. It was one query instead of 15 queries, I don't know how many, to get all the joins, just to get the list of documents. It should be of types. It should be one document. So we should also provide a way for users to store the documents they want, the object as documents they want, not just content items. Content items is a specific kind of type in Orchard, so it's a specific kind of storage, but we should be able to save any document also and map it to a record, whatever. So, yeah.
Sebastian, don't you think it's important that content items can be actual records, like rows in the tables for querying optimization purposes?
No, what I'm saying is that the content item is stored as a document, and if you want to assign to it some, I see, for content item is different. No, the part records the same thing. You can store the records you want to query that. So for each part, you could say, my part needs a record, like today. It's optional. If you don't need querying on this part, don't create a record. But you can, for your part, create a record, and then we will be able to query that. And to join it to another record if you want to query it. So
yeah, that makes sense.
And today you can do that. And it's beautiful. It's perfect. It's very fast. It's just we don't have a SQL-aware API. We have HQL. This is a solution. Maybe we should have HQL directly exposed and not hidden into a different provider. This will solve the dialects thing. So HQL could be the solution here.
As long as it's an option to go down to the lowest layer of abstraction.
Again, yes, if we have very simple records, then HQL is useless because let's use SQL directly. It's the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have to. Yep. Okay. So if you guys want to continue the talk on the forum, go on. There is a forum for that. Sorry if I missed that, but what's the problem with MapReduce? Who said there was a problem with MapReduce? MapReduce.
Can you post those notes onto the chat, onto the issue log, just so that we've got a record of it, please.
I don't know what you mean.
Just send me the notes that you've written down from micro ORM down.
Oh, that?
Yeah, just send that to me.
Okay. Yes, boss. Yep. And if you want to see more examples of what can be done and to give you ideas, not take it like as is, github.com/SebastianRoss/ who knows? Everyone knows.
JInt?
No.
Yes, SQL.
Yes, SQL.
Okay. Yes, SQL.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yes. So this is everything I said here for SQL. And a little, which also does too many things that we don't want, but like automatic MapReduce and yeah. So yes, of course, SQL. No, this is yes, SQL. Yeah. So yeah, just thoughts for food. So just look at it. It's old stuff, but all the concepts are here. And we won't use it for Orchard, actually. We should use something more basic. Good. Thanks, everyone.
Sebastian, can you send me the recording? A common acquaintance of us within your organization wants it ASAP.
But I meet tomorrow.
Oh, okay, you will. There was somebody that wanted to see the demo that I did.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Daniel and Sipke, for the module.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. Awesome.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys.